Listen to the Coffee Hour. I'm Andy Bates.
I'm Sarah Gulseth.
It is Tuesday, April 16th. Holy Week, Holy Tuesday.
I'm really excited. I was just thinking this morning what we're talking about today, and I was really excited.
Or all week.
All week. Everything this week is good.
Yeah, we have lots of topics regarding Holy Week this week.
Today is my favorite service of the year. I mean, we're talking about my favorite service of the year. And we have a missionary story.
Exciting.
It's so exciting.
Yeah, and Church of the Week as well.
And Church of the Week. Man.
Yeah. Friends over at Bethany Lutheran Church, right across the river. Just, 20 minutes from St. Louis?
Sure.
Yeah. They are our Church of the Week, and glad to have them joining us and supporting us. And and what better week to do that than Holy Week, right?
Exactly.
Thanks to our friends at Concordia University, Wisconsin for supporting the Coffee Hour. Find out more about them at cuw.edu. Live Uncommon. Joining us by phone this morning, Pastor Jeff Hemmery, pastor of Bethany Lutheran Church, Fairview Heights, Illinois. Pastor, thanks so much for joining us today.
Good morning, guys. Great to be with you.
A blessed Holy Tuesday and all the preparations for all those services that you were just we were listening to you share in your announcement as Church of the Week as well. All the services coming up at Bethany. Easter Vigil. I remember learning about Easter Vigil back in college, and it's not as common of a service, I think, but I was able to attend. I've attended Easter Vigil a few times throughout my life. With a little one, haven't been doing it so much lately, but it's in the plans to do here in the near future. But looking forward to learning more about Easter Vigil today. Give us a brief history, like the Cliff Notes? The Cliff Notes version of the history of Easter Vigil.
So the Easter Vigil is one of the oldest services we have, and one of the oldest celebrations of Easter itself. Going back to probably within the first couple centuries of the New Testament church, Christians were gathering together on the evening of Easter. So when the sun sets on Holy Saturday, they would gather together to hold vigil to await the rising of the sun on Easter morning, which itself is always a sign of the resurrection. And so what we do while keeping vigil is we watch and we pray and we hear the Word of God. And so you get all of those things sort of permeating the Easter Vigil itself. And it is a long service because that's what we're doing, is we're keeping vigil. So historically, this was the service at which those who had been preparing to join the church would be baptized, would be confirmed, would receive their first communion, being welcomed to the Lord's altar. So Lent was a time for catechesis and instruction in the doctrine of the church, and all that culminates on the evening when Holy Saturday ends and the sun sets. They all gather dressed in white robes, ready to be welcomed into the church as well. So there's a strong emphasis on baptism, reception of the sacrament, confession of the faith, and it's the culmination of what these catechumens have been working towards all throughout the Lenten season.
How does this service kind of fit into this progression of services that we get from Maundy, Thursday to Good Friday? If you have a chief service or a tenebrae service, and then Easter Vigil, how does this kind of help us along in this journey from the triumphal entry through to Easter morning?
Yeah, so Maundy, Thursday, Good Friday, Holy Saturday, and the Easter Vigil really all comprise one service, and we call it the Triduum, which literally means 3 days. So there's an organic unity to what we begin on Maundy, Thursday that carries through to its culmination at the Easter Vigil. So if you watch the events and the ceremonies of these 3 days unfold, you'll see things that are unlike anything else we do throughout the rest of the church year. There's an opening invocation Maundy, Thursday, but no benediction at the close of that service because it doesn't actually end. We just go home. We take a several-hour-long break in between the close on Maundy, Thursday and the resumption of the service either at the chief service at noon on Good Friday, or the Tenebrae Vespers, which is normally an eventide service on Good Friday. And then, we take a break. There may be a service of matins on Holy Saturday morning, contemplating the Lord's rest in the tomb, the final Sabbath. And then the service comes to its conclusion on Holy Saturday, at the end of Holy Saturday, with the Easter Vigil. And what's fascinating about the Vigil is that during the service itself, we make the transition from Lent into Easter. And so we begin outside by a fire, with a new fire. There's the blessing of the new Paschal candle, the Easter candle. Then there's a procession into the service with candle, into the nave itself with candlelight, as we sing about the light of Christ breaking into the darkness of the world. We come in by candlelight, and we physically break the darkness of the nave itself with our candles and with the coming in of the Paschal candle. There's a service of readings, which is itself where you really get the sense of keeping vigil and waiting. There are 12 readings. You may do fewer if necessary, but there's 12 significant readings from the history of God's people as he's bringing them out of slavery in Egypt, as they are awaiting and hoping for the coming of the promised Messiah to deliver us from our slavery to sin. Each reading is followed by a prayer, so there you get the reading, the hearing the word, the waiting, the praying, all in this anticipation of the breaking forth of Easter. And so that's just the beginning of the Easter service. In the middle of the service, we actually at Bethany will take down our scarlet, our Holy Week colored paraments. We'll bring out the white paraments. I'll change into the white vestments. The altar guild will bring out all the furnishings for the celebration of the Lord's Supper, which is the concluding part of the Easter Vigil service. They'll bring out the Easter lilies. And then in the middle of the service, you have the very first Alleluia. It has been bottled up since we sang farewell to Alleluia at Transfiguration, and now we uncork our Alleluias, and they flow forth abundantly. And just to watch that transition from Lent to Easter in the context of the liturgy itself, the liturgy of the great vigil of Easter, is a breathtaking thing to behold. And the organ, which has been largely silent for the duration of the Lenten season, it ordinarily only accompanies hymns and the congregational singing of the liturgy. Then the organ bursts forth in sound. We have preludes and postludes, and it's like the organ, which has been put on mute for a little time, now breaks out of its box, and it just can no longer be contained.
I think that's why all of this is why the service is just so fantastic that you go from all that darkness on Good Friday and then you get into the vigil service and you start in darkness, and then there's just this breaking forth of the bells and the organ and the Alleluias, and it's I can't wait.
My congregation, one of the congregations I served for that particular transition to help the young ones really engage with that as well. They got to have bells as well.
Our congregation did that too in Chicago.
So that, they were instructed when the lights come on and when we say Alleluia or sing Alleluia, ring your bells as well. And boy, they rang them with all their might.
It's just so fun. Yeah, that middle of the service transition it's quite the production too, being on altar guild, bringing all that stuff out. Yeah, it is. But it's such an important moment to make that switch and to finally be able to celebrate with Alleluias. What should first time attendees or maybe young families maybe expect or prepare for if they've never been to a vigil service before they arrive? What are some things or some pointers for families before they get into this service?
It's hard to prepare you for it without ever having experienced it, because it is so unlike the rest of what we do. So the simplest way to prepare is to expect the unexpected and to enjoy the sights and the sounds and the smells and the unfolding of the drama. And so if you're there with young children, I mean, it is the kind of perfect service for children to watch, even though it's long, especially if you do all 12 of those Old Testament readings. The service itself is long, so be patient with kids, but watching light being brought in and the nave being illuminated with candlelight, that's something that's easy for kids to identify, the light of Christ breaking into the darkness. There's the remembrance of baptism and the service of baptism, so then it's a great opportunity to talk to kids about the gift that God gave them in baptism, how baptism joins them into the death of Christ, which we observed the day before, and into the resurrection of Christ, which we celebrate not just at Easter, but on every Sunday. And then they can watch as the sort of behind-the-scenes work of decorating the church for Easter gets done in front of their eyes, and there's no secrets. There are only mysteries, no secrets, just this unfolding of the mystery of our Lord's resurrection right before their eyes. But it is a long service, and if you start at sunset on Holy Saturday, then it continues way past the bedtimes of little kids. So if they fall asleep for part of the service and wake up later, those things are all expected and understandable, but it's nevertheless magnificent for them to see and to connect the reality of Jesus' resurrection with all the sights, with all the rites that they're seeing and participating in.
How can let us know the details here for Easter Vigil at Bethany this year, the time and how to get to Bethany Lutheran Church?
So if you're heading east out of St. Louis from, you take Highway 4064 right across the river. Fairview Heights is exit 12, and you'll make about 3 turns to get to Bethany. We're on Old Collinsville Road, right next door to a mini-golf go-kart place, which will be silent on Holy Saturday. And we begin outside, right outside the front door. We gather around a fire. So we start at 7:30. So get there a little in advance so you have time to grab a bulletin, get a candle, kind of familiarize yourself with the layout of the building. But if you've never been to an Easter Vigil service and your church doesn't offer one, then we invite you to come join us for ours.
Pastor Jeff Hemmer at Bethany Lutheran Church in Fairview Heights, Illinois. And Easter Vigil coming up this Saturday, 7:30. You want to get there beforehand, though, so you're ready to go? Pastor Hemmer, thanks so much for being our guest on the Coffee Hour today.
Thanks, Andy. Thank you, Sarah. It's great to talk with you guys.
Coming up in just a little bit, we get to meet the missionaries.
Yay.
You're listening to the Coffee Hour. I'm Andy Bates.
I'm Sarah Golseth.